Good evening. Welcome to the Late Late Show. I'm your host, as always, Irish Tommy. And thankfully, I have our old buddy, Luke. He is there somewhere, trust me. I'm sure he'll pop back on in a second. Don't know if he can see or hear us at the moment. He had a tissue in his hand when I was talking to him backstage before we went live. So I'm not sure if he's feeling the best, but hopefully he's okay. So while we're waiting on Luke to jump back in, we'll have a look if my laptop will start behaving itself and see who's around. Got Jay Watson. How you doing, Jay? Hey, there you are, Luke. Welcome back. Got Jay Watson in the house. How are you, Jay? Mick Turpin, probably not his real name. Randy, as always, regular here. Leslie Barden, good to see you. Welcome. Steve Bell, great to see you, Steve. Another regular, always good to see him. Freno, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. And Mark as well is in the house, and I think frogging a well. Hope you're not stuck. Thanks for joining. And Usual is in the house. How you doing, Usual? Good to see you, bud. Luke, how are you?
Well, I was all right till you said I had a tissue in my hand when I come on 5 minutes ago, which makes me sound like a bit dodgy. But no, it was a runny nose. In case anyone has any questions on that. But yeah, I'm okay.
You have a perfectly good sock for that.
Yeah, well, I'll no comment. No comment. Let's get professional, mate. Yeah, in a minute. I've been on nights this week, so my head is everywhere, and I'm a little bit sort of tired and trying to concentrate on the West Ham comings and goings and what's going on. And there's always never boring sport in this club. There's always a drama somewhere or another, and trying to take it all in, trying to think, what direction the club's going in. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit. Tim's gone now, isn't he? Tim's out the door, or he's going if he's not gone.
Sullivan's given the bullet.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit. I don't know what to think about it. I don't know how to think because, I thought when he came in, he was going to be a breath of fresh air, going to be one of the starting points to seeing us become a well-run football club. And almost ever since, I think maybe the first 6 months was pretty good, and then after that, it's been a bit here and there. So I don't know what to think about a couple of minutes, mate. I'm just what will be and keep watch your space kind of thing. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, it's not really a good look, to be honest. It just goes to show how the club is run, and the public kind of perception of this won't be good. I mean, you bring in a sporting director in the summer. Sullivan, I think, trying to show everyone that he's modernising the club and we're going to be heading in the right direction. We're going to have our sporting director who's going to be taking care of recruitment and, almost kind of like the Brighton model, trying to look like it's all becoming modernised at West Ham and we're headed in the right direction. But the problem being is that David Sullivan is a micromanaging control freak and he just does not like to cede control of the purse strings to anybody. And there was always likely to be a conflict. I mean, he brought him in, typical Sullivan, brought him in while Old was still here. I mean, that was obviously going to be a very taut situation. And it was neither the fault of David Moyes nor Tim Stoyton. The timing of that was awful. You're going to bring in Tim Stoyton. You can't really bring him in with Moyes in situ. It's just never going to work. There's always going to be tension. It ended up where Stoyton ended up leaving the training ground and just sticking to his office at the ground because they couldn't be around each other, and that was never going to work. So Sullivan, as usual, pretty clueless from the beginning on this one. And then he brings in a manager in the summer in Lopetegui that Stoyton would absolutely never have hired, who clearly just didn't rate Lopetegui whatsoever. And that was never going to work. And then when the results and performances on the pitch were really awful, you suddenly had this kind of political blame game being played out in the media between Sullivan and Stoyton, with Stoyton saying, I warned him, don't bring in Lopetegui, he's not the man for the job. And then Sullivan coming out and saying, no, Tim was up completely on board with Stoyton. He was very happy with the appointment and document the interview, all this stuff. So this tug of war, Sullivan and Stoyton has been going on in the background. Stoyton didn't get on either with Lopetegui, which isn't a surprise because he didn't want him there. I'm sure Lopetegui knew Stoyton didn't want him there. And then when this stuff starts going out in the press, it does absolutely nothing, I'm sure, for the relationship at the training ground between Stoyton and Lopetegui. So that completely fell apart. Then Lopetegui ends up getting sacked, and now we've got a new manager who seems to have quite a bit of power. I think Sullivan probably had to cede quite a bit of power to Potter to get him to agree to take the job. I think Potter wants his own people in place, wants to do a certain amount of the recruitment, and so now Stoyton's position is completely untenable, which I think is fine with Sullivan because I think Sullivan wants him gone. The whole thing is just a complete mess, frankly. And it's not really a surprise to me, to be completely honest, Luke. This is just David Sullivan's MO. And now he probably has Stoyton out the way. He can have a bit more direct say, working directly probably with Potter and his people on the kind of signings that we're going to make.
Yeah, I don't really know. To my mind, the Brighton model is that you have one director of football there, and that's it. Or you have people working behind the scenes who are like they're permanent fixtures. And the idea, this is as far as I know about how it works. They're permanent fixtures. The coaches are temporary fixtures. It's like the head coaches that come in don't really pick their own staff. They're hand picked by Brighton and say, you work for us. This is what you'll do. If they come into Brighton, they work for them for 2 or 3 years, make a name for themselves, and move on. That's fine, because Brighton will then go and get someone else who can do the same thing for them. So that equally both parties will profit from that. And with Potter saying, I want my own guy in, that's fair enough. But clearly, we're in another position where the head coach is deciding that he wants his staff coming in. So Tim's been there; he's overseen 2 managers in David Moyes and Lopetegui, and then now he's gone for the third guy in. So clearly Tim's position was untenable because clearly he wasn't going to be allowed to be the permanent fixture of West Ham for a long time to come. And I don't really know what to think.
He wasn't allowed to do his job, really, was he?
No. But there is a certain level of like what his personality is, because we can all say that we want someone who does a job, but then what they like around the training ground, what they like behind closed doors, none of us know, because realistically, if too many, I know they're under pressure, and I know that they were at the door, and at the time when he got banned, let's say from the training ground and stuff, that the managers and the coaches didn't want him there, then maybe is that something to do with his personality, or is it to do with the job that he was doing? A lot of people didn't like the fact that Stoyton was hanging around the tunnel before players were coming out to start games. They thought, well, that's not his job. Why is he doing that? Is he just trying to make a name for himself at West Ham? Is he on an ego trip or something? He shouldn't be anywhere near the players on match day. I don't know what the protocol is for that. Maybe that's he's perfectly entitled to do that. He's not getting in the way or whatever. Clearly, there's something that people aren't understanding. Within the club, I don't want him here. I don't want him around. If you're out the door, you're out the door. If the players are going to know it before the it's been said by ex-players before. When a manager goes, the players know it before the manager knows it themselves, because there's an aura around the grounds. When they say that you lost the dressing room, you lose the dressing room before you lose a job, before you lose everything. So I can't see that really mattering. But I must admit, in the first few days that this Kyle has been, signed up or rumoured to be signed up or whatever, our targets seem to have changed. And I think we're going from not players that are kind of already ready-made, but the type of players that Brighton would have looked at and would have brought in under Potter. So maybe we are going on a completely different trajectory. Maybe it was something that Kyle's walked in and gone, you've had this guy in for 2 years or however long it is now, I can't think of my head, and he's not brought in players that have, you know, bamboozled everyone at the club. You've not been able to go. There's a reason why Tim Staten's here. All these players are brilliant, and maybe he's going. The players we're going to bring in are not only going to be good for the now, but they're going to be good for the next few years. Plus, if we sell them, you're going to make a bundle of profit on it. Possibly Sullivan's gone ching 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 and thinking, right, that's money in the bank. I'm liking to hear that. You're coming in and starting to go because it's not really worked out. So I'm not looking forward to it because I just know West Ham like to mess up a good thing. But if it's a positive trajectory, then with all due respect to Steiden, it's been, you know, I've kind of, you know, liked the fact that he gave me hope. I think he gave me hope. He gave me a change. West Ham are going in a different direction, and it hasn't worked out the way everyone wanted it to work out. So if we take Steiden out and bring someone in who's just as good or if not better, then I'm all for it. I have to be a West Ham fan. I want us to do well. I want us to succeed. So if this is good in the long run, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think they were probably just the wrong kind of personalities together at the club. You know, David Sullivan, Steiden, Lopetegui doesn't sound like a recipe for success. I think they're all quite ornery in their own ways. They all seem like they can be quite strong characters and maybe not the easiest to get along with. David Moyes was probably the same, really, very strong character, all opinionated. And I do think Tim probably is quite happy to go, I'd imagine, because it just hasn't worked from the beginning. I don't think he was ever really allowed fully to do his job. Like I said, I think it's impossible for Sullivan to just delegate something to someone and let them get on with it, especially when it comes to the recruitment of players. Sullivan just loves trying to do deals, loves talking to his mates, you know, Will Salthouse among them, and I think he just loves being involved in the deal making process, and he just can't let go of it. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this dynamic will work now with Potter coming in. And I really, my fear is actually that Potter will become disillusioned very quickly, especially in the summer transfer window. If he's scouting certain players, trying to get certain players in, and then Sullivan is sticking his beak in, saying, I want to buy this player. I'm going to buy 2 players this summer. I'm going to pick 2 players, and I'm going to buy 2 players this summer. Or he scuppers a deal for a player that is high on Potter's priority list for whatever reason, whether it's the finances or whatever. So I'm hoping Sullivan doesn't fuck this as well. And this is a good time to bring in James, because it's your favourite subject, David Sullivan.
Oh, yes, mate.
Sticking his beak in everything and not being able to mind his own fucking business. When it comes to player recruitment, which undermine, and I'm no Steiden fan. You know, I'm not here to defend Steiden. He's gone. I don't particularly care. I don't have a dog in that hunt. I'm not a Steiden fan or anything like that. If he's going, he's going. That's fine. But my worry, James, as I just said, is that even with Potter and his people, Sullivan won't be able to stop sticking his beak in, and is going to upset Potter as well in the summer transfer window.
Yeah, we all know what Sullivan's about, mate, don't we? Let's be honest. Like, you could do a poll of 10,000 people, West Ham fans, and there'd be quite a lot who want him out the door. The only thing I can say really on this is you just got to see how it goes with Carl McCauley, and just go from there, and just judge it on that to a point, because there's nothing else that we can judge it on at present. Sullivan's always been a problem. I've said it for a long time. I've said it on E20 for many, many years. And even when in the Moyes days, I was like, listen, you can get rid of the manager, but I do worry about the ownership of this club and where it's going long term. But nevertheless, we all know what Sullivan's like. We all know how he penny pinches. And this week's been, drama at West Ham. We've gone from £57 million John Duran bid to Andre Silva to Brian Brobbey to Dan Neil at Sunderland, and it's just West Ham United, lads. That's what I can say, really.
Yeah, and I suppose, James, sorry, I think you were muted, Luke. Yeah. Sorry, crack on, mate. Go ahead.
No, I was going to quickly say just about the money thing, right? So we know that we understand from when Potter was at Brighton, the way Brighton kind of like to do things, they like to buy low, sell high. So you look at these players they're looking at now, like 19 years old from the Belgian league and along those lines. Do you think that Sullivan will maybe like the idea more of Carl coming in if he's going to get him them sort of deals? Because if he says to Sullivan, look, we'll get this kid in for like, I don't know, 5 million, and in the next 3 years we'll sell him for 70 million. You're not the kind of like Caicedo for Chelsea, and who's the other one? We went to Spurs. Can't remember his name now. Midfielder. Basuma? Yeah, I think it's that sort of thing. Because if you look at Steiden, he wasn't really. I don't think he was looking too much to the future, like a sales thing. I think he was looking to bring in players who are maybe like Caduce's age, early 20s, got a decent standing in football as it was, and then we're going to hit the ground running straight away, and then push West Ham on. So from a business model, it probably makes sense to bring Carl in because you're going to make more money long term, profitable.
Yeah, but see, the problem we might run into is that our owner is David Sullivan, and he can't keep his beak out. He loves doing transfer deals. He just loves it. He loves finding a player that he thinks is great, getting them in. And the other problem I think we might run into is that to run the Brighton model, they've done it very successfully, so fair play to them, is you have to be very good at this every season. Like, you have to hit on players every season. If you start missing, no matter how much money you make from the players you sell, Brighton sell all their best players every season, and they get big money for them, and that's great. But to sustain that year after year after year after year, it takes a couple of two, 3 transfer windows where you don't hit on a player, and now all of a sudden you've spent that money that you got in, and you don't actually have the saleable assets anymore because those players haven't worked out. The recruitment for some reason just has failed on this occasion, and now you're back to square one. Now you don't have much money to spend, and you don't have players that you can offload for big money. You're not getting the results. You're slipping on the table. You're looking over your shoulder thinking, "Okay, we can't get relegated here. We're back to square one completely." So the Brighton model is fine if you can keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it year after year after year after year. I think we have to find a kind of happy medium. Of course, you want to sell players for more than you bought them for, but you also have to have some kind of ability to hold on to some of your best players longer term so that you can build upon it and create actually a squad that's like really, really good and can really challenge towards the top of the table. I don't know if that's sustainable for Brighton. They haven't done it yet. I haven't seen them, even with their model and as good as we think they are with the recruitment, they lose their players every time. And it means they're resetting all the time. And so Brighton have not been able to kind of push into those Champions League places and season after season keep pushing in those kind of areas, which their recruitment might suggest they should do. But you have to be able to hold on to players to do it. And we have to find a way. Obviously, we'll have to sell some. I think you can sell a couple of like really big players, but you can't like Brighton. I mean, they'll just sell them all. They all just go because the bigger clubs come in, just take them all. We have to find some way where we can sell the ones that we can lose without impacting the team too much, but keep some of our stars longer term so that we always have that to build on. And we only need to hit on 1 or 2 players every summer, to keep ourselves where we want to be.
I agree. The only thing I will say to that is how we all feel if we build a player up and keep flogging them every year. It's like you can't really get attached to a player. Do you know what I'm saying? Like a Bowen or someone like that. I think Brighton's model is excellent. I've said it for a long time over the years that Brighton's model is the best in the country. The way they sort of bring in youth players and develop them and sell them on for large amounts of money. The only issue that is with us is we get very sentimental with players, and especially good players at that, and we find it very hard to let them go at the best of time. I think with our recruitment, we've got to get the striker front sorted out because we're the 17th richest club in world football currently right now, and we've got no striker under the age of 30. I don't think that's acceptable, not in the 25 year. Do you know what I mean? We've had this situation over the last 5, maybe 6 years where we're trying to get strikers to come in and look to replace Mikel Antonio, and Mickey's still here, and everyone else seems to just be falling apart. Now, Mickey can't do it forever, and we're going to have to look for a replacement in the near future. So I think the recruitment has to be spot on. Will Sullivan allow that to happen? Only time will tell on that, mate, honestly. But I get the Brighton model, but I would find it very hard to keep bringing players in and then selling them to other clubs and let them be great at other clubs and not at ours, if I'm being honest.
I'm not saying, by the way, I'm up for that. What I'm saying, my point was that would Sullivan like it more than kind of any, because if he's looking at it going, out of any model out there that isn't his, would this be the model that he'd most accept? Because if you're saying to someone, right, I can make you loads of money, mate. I can bring in players for a quarter of the price that they will eventually be sold. Because as we know, he's not really that. The Sullivan, even if he wanted to be, he's not savvy enough to have a team that's up in the top 4 or trying to get top 6 every season. He's just not savvy enough for it. Even if he wanted to be, I don't think he'd put it off personally. But if you're telling him that we can remain a Premier League club like for at least 10 years from this day, this year right now, and then use it as a business. As a football fan, I hate it personally because it's not what we're in for.
Yeah, but when do you turn that over though, Lou? From being a business aspect to then being ambitious? Because me and Tommy have discussed this numerous times. We've got to forget the Upton Park era. We're in Stratford era now, and we've got to be looking to go up the table and compete. Yeah. So when do you draw the line on it being business and then ambition, like so to speak?
Well, this is the problem. I don't know why. If I'm honest, I would like to know how Brighton fans feel about it, because a Brighton fan just happy to be in the Premier League, and they feel that they should be doing a bit better than they currently are. I'm not saying it works for me. I'm not saying that from a personal point of view that it's something that I'm up for. I just look at it going, well, I never thought David Moyes would get us to qualify for Europe for 3 years. I thought that would have been, you'd have to bring in someone with European experience who knew what they were doing and could get West Ham to that point. So in that respect, I think Sullivan got very, very lucky with that. That particular manager who had failed in a big job at Man United, who then got Sunderland relegated and then couldn't get his thing over at Sociedad, to then come into us, first of all, kick us up and then get us in Europe. For him, he must have thought, bloody hell, I've got the goose to lay the golden egg here, like for free almost. Because
it's basically kind of law of averages, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just pure luck with Sullivan. Not for 1 second did Sullivan think Moyes was going to do that.
No. So I think as a model, like personally, we all know, we've all been through it before. We've not been up to what we promised. So like I would obviously love us to be ambitious, James. You know that. We've talked about it till the cows come home. But it's if you like, if Stuyden has a problem, if Sullivan has a problem with Stuyden because he's trying to get his own men in, and then Sullivan wants his own men for just for financial reasons or whatever, then if you're going to bring in someone who can go, right, this isn't your model, but this model will make you money, then he'll be more open to that. Now, I'm not saying I'm up for that. I'm not saying I want that to happen, but for Sullivan, maybe he won't. Not saying I'm hoping. I'm just saying what might happen, but he might not have as much say in transfers going forward, because he can suddenly go, hold on, I don't need to get involved. I don't need to get my agents involved because you're going to make me a load of money bringing the talent in.
But I think it's got to be best in class, though, Lou. Like, listen, we're not customers, we're supporters. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think with us, we want to see the best players playing for their club, whether that's the youth players coming through, like we discussed last week, or it's us buying players. Like, you need to see the best playing for this club because we want the best. We want to be the best as we can be. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. When it comes to Sullivan and having, like, obviously McCauley, only time will tell on that, mate. Like, we just don't know. We don't know how it's going to go. The only thing that goes currently in our favour right now as supporters, in my honest opinion, is Potter. Because I think vast majority of people, like the majority of the fan base, will be backing Potter. Some people will be acting like divs and saying, no, he's not the guy. But, most of us will have common sense and a brain and say, you know what, we're going to back the man. There is no excuses now not to back the man and back him on and off the pitch, in my honest opinion. Do you know what I'm saying? Because he needs help, but it's all over to the owner now. Do you know what I mean? The owner has to let him do the job. And listen, the owner's far from perfect. He should be gone a long time ago. And hopefully McCauley can come in and do his thing. Do you know what I mean? And the Steidon thing is over. The Moyes thing is over. That's all ended in the past. Because listen, with the Steidon thing, and I said on E20 quite a lot, that basically he was hyped up Steidon to be the best thing ever. And with Sullivan, you know, it ain't always going to be like that, mate, in my opinion.
Do you think, just on the side note, do you think that Sullivan might kind of lay off Potter a bit purely because of the Brady connection? If Brady because there could be a fallout in the boardroom because if he starts mugging off Potter and she goes, oh, that's not just like a colleague, that's a family friend or whatever. Them two can clash quite a lot, and you can see sparks fly. Whether that's a good thing in ownership wise or not, I don't know. But yeah,
but what it is, we've got a head coach that we all believe in. That's the difference now. Like, whereas, listen, with the Moyes thing, people wanted him gone. People were scared for him to go. I was one of them people that I was like, listen, if he goes, then fair enough. But I am worried about Sullivan, who he's going to pick. Do you know what I mean? And now everyone's in the same camp. Everyone's in the same sort of like mindset that Potter's here. You got to help him now. And everyone's looking at David Sullivan now. Do you know what I mean? So I can see it happening, though. If you want me to be truthfully honest, if it went down a nasty way, Brady could turn around and say, listen, I've got the man in. I know the man. This is more than football. This is a friendship and all. Things happen, do you know what I'm saying? Where it could kick off in a way that could benefit us long term. The issue is that Sullivan needs to go. If you want me to be brutally honest, Sullivan needs to leave the club, and basically everyone's done their time. Sullivan's done his time to a point, and he needs to go. Because when I look at the table that came out the other day in regards of 17th richest club currently, all around the world, it angers me to a point of being angry that, like, you look at our squad's not even that very good, and we haven't even got a striker to sort of, like, every club got an idolised striker. Even Ipswich Town have got one in Liam Delap. They look at him and that's the focal point. Our one is Mikel Antonio. And no disrespect to Mickey, but Mickey is a player that's been there, seen it, done it, but he can't do it forever.
No.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think I'm sure we've all been beaten this drum for so long now. It's actually ridiculous.
Yeah.
To be waiting this long to try and get a striker in who's actually, young enough, athletic enough, good enough finisher, the right price, isn't going to be injured half the season. I don't know why we make it so painful. I mean, it's not that hard. It's really not. I mean, I know you're not going to hit on every striker, but at least if you're getting the right kind of demographic of striker, someone who's young, who seems to be very talented, who seems to be on the rise, on the up, a John Durant, for example, they're out there. You just have to have your feelers out there, and you have to be doing your due diligence on players around Europe and beyond so that you can identify one of these players and go get them. And hopefully, you'll have a few of them work out. But I don't know what it is with us that no matter what we do, we just can't get it right. I don't know why. It's shocking that we're in this situation that you mentioned, James, where we've got three strikers, all of whom are over 30, two of whom are inevitably injured in Antonio and Fulkrug, and another who, let's be honest, in Danny Ings is over the hill. Great attitude, good pro, but just can't carry a forward line on his own. Can't do it. And so, and we always seem to be in this situation like we're like a dog chasing its tail. So, and like I could believe it in the summer we signed Fulkrug because I thought, because we're in Steidton community, I thought these days were over. I thought the point of Steidton, we had the oldest and finished squad pretty much in the Premier League going into the summer, and I thought, we're going to get a proper striker in now. Steidton's in, he'll find Pearl diver, apparently. He'll find someone. He'll find there's a young, talented striker. He'll have, contacts around the place, particularly in Germany. He'll find there's a striker to come in, who'll replace Antonio. Antonio will be the backup. And then it looked promising early on with Duran. I thought, oh yeah, now you're talking. This is exactly what we need. Exactly. And somehow, between himself and Sullivan, they managed to fuck it up. And now we ended up with full crew. And here we are in January. How many times have we been here in January? And the club saying, oh yeah, we're going to go get a striker. And then either nothing happens or we get some plonker in on loan who's not going to make a blind bit of difference to the team whatsoever.
The last time,
failure.
Right, the last time, maybe someone can correct me in the chat, but I don't think I'm wrong on this one. The last time we signed someone in January window was Bowen, to a point, as in paid money for. Do you know what I'm saying? I think
Bowen and Souček, I think, was in the same.
I think Souček coming out as on a loan. Bowen was signed from Hull. We've signed Jesse Lingard on a loan. Howard Phillips on a loan. I don't remember us signing someone of any note who's come in the January window and been about it in the January window.
That's the last best, and that was all the way back in 2007. I think it was. Ashton was the last one, and even that ended up being in the end being an injury. Unlucky, the most unlucky injury you could think of. But I think Ashton was the last time we done it sort of right. I think. Personally, I think the full crew signing killed Steidon completely, and I think I lost a bit of faith in Steidon because
I think it's two. If you want me to be honest, I think it's two, though. Yeah, I think it's Lewis Guilherme.
Right.
That one at the start is the one where I think people look at it and go, "Really? Do we really need a wonder kid right now?"
See, I like that one personally, but the reason why I liked it was because I think I said it in your show as well before. When you see that, like, I'm not saying we're in their echelons, but what I'm saying is that when Real Madrid or Barcelona, when they see a kid who's gonna be the next big, like Endrick, when they saw that when Endrick was bought or someone on them lines was signed, they go out and they get them early on. I think I don't know did Man City do it with Jesus? Did they just go and grab him but they nail him down. But they nail him down to a contract, and I think what we should have done. I don't really know why we didn't do it, but we should. The 30 million didn't bother me because when you're trying to buy players for the future, that's nothing. Like top players don't.
But do you buy someone like that in a rebuild? That's like, listen, I'm all for buying young and up and coming players. I really am, Lou. But do you buy it when we need? Well, first things first, we need a centre forward at the club. Which is major. Like, and don't forget, this is a defence that held 70 plus goals last year. We need to sort the defence out. For me, maybe it's like psychological, maybe, yeah. But for me, if Lewis Guilherme comes in at the back end of the window, the last signing, and you see what you've got beforehand, and Lewis Guilherme comes in, it looks a completely different scenario. Him being the first one in, and then you miss out on targets because of Lewis Guilherme to a point, because it's the money. It is the money. We all know it. It changes the narrative on it. Do you know what I mean? It really does on that one.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that's wrong, but I mean, when the money was steep, but then I think that if we're going to rebuild and buy other players, then if we were going to go where we want to go to, which is apparently the top 6 and what have you, more than that, we should look at 26. But one, if he was going to be. I don't think the money was wasted. I think it was a good idea to spend money on that because I think it was the long term. That was a long term investment, and if you're going to make one long term investment, maybe every year, once a year, then that's fine. The problem was the entire problem with the summer was that 3 blokes were having their hands in the pie because Lopetegui went and spent 40 million on Kilman. Sullivan went and had his buys. Steidon went at his. So there wasn't like didn't seem to be a cohesive. It was like Steidon went, right, I'll have him and I want him for the long term. I want him now. So I want us to spend 20, 30 million. Okay, that's fine. Right, well, Kilman could have him for 40 million. So that's a big chunk. So they've all had their own little. Is Kilman worth 40 million? I don't think he's worth 40 million. I think at the times, at the start of the season, he looked like he could be. But I think he's shown up that he's not.
But you have got English. I see people saying in the chat there. Just want to say this quickly. I see people saying in the chat there about Lewis Guilherme's replacement for Kudus. It's not on his level. Like you're not.
But we don't.
He's 18.
We don't know that. He's 5 years younger than him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but would you if Kudus was sold this summer coming, would you put Lewis Guilherme in next season?
You'd have to, and you'd have to give him the platform.
Possibly.
I think you signed someone, if I'm honest, Ed.
You sign someone.
I mean, to be honest, I mean, it probably is a bit soon for Guilherme to immediately replace.
Maybe, but I like the intention behind it. That was my point. I like the intention.
Yeah, but it's a hard one to answer, James. To be honest, because I haven't really seen much of him. You know, it's hard to
I agree.
judge him really. I haven't seen him. I'd have to judge it from the training ground really to see if he looks lively, looks sharp, looks like he's up to the level. That's the only way to judge it because we just haven't seen him on the pitch.
I just feel. Listen, I agree with you to a point. Yeah, listen, I don't want him to be sold, but was he the right signing at that right time? I just don't think he was. Do you know what I mean? And especially when we need more addressing areas to be filled. Like we've discussed it previous, and me and Tommy discussed this for years over a striker front. Like our West Ham have not got two natural sort of strikers in their ranks under the age of 30. It's beyond a joke. Like it really is. And when you're relying on Danny Ings to come on and change the game for you, that's a problem really for me because he's on a lot of money and he's going to be gone in the summer. So listen, I don't want Lewis Guilherme sold, but far from it. But was he the right signing at the right time? I just don't believe he was, mate. Like, really
yeah,
don't.
I think ultimately that will probably come down to what Graham Potter wants. I think if Graham Potter just doesn't fancy him, then he'll be sold. Whereas, of course, if Graham Potter said, "Look, he's a cracking young player. This guy, I can really make something out of him," then he'll stay. I think ultimately it'll come down to what Potter wants. If Potter feels like he can cash in on him and get some extra transfer money in for a player that he really wants to go and get, then I'm easy either way, to be honest. If we sell him, I would feel a little bit bad for Guilherme because I do think we failed him in that instance. You know, he's 18 years old, coming from Brazil to London. You know, hasn't really been given a chance. We've done nothing with him. We haven't loaned him out. We haven't played him in the 1-1. We haven't played him in the first team. All his training and a couple of cameo roles very late on in games. So if we do sell him on, I actually hope the poor lad goes to a club that will actually.
So do I. Listen, at the end of the day, right, I just want to get to Ralph's comment in there because he's just accused me of being a Man United fan. I want the best at West Ham, mate. I'm afraid, Ralph. You know what I'm saying? I just want to say that. And if West Ham have to go out and buy the best, that's what Sullivan's got here to do. Do you know what I mean? David Sullivan takes all our money, rents us a fucking stadium that we don't like, and he took us out of our home. So I want us to buy the best players in class, mate, at the end of the day. So if that means I want the best, then shoot me down in flames and stone me to the ground. Do you know what I'm saying? Listen, I get what you're saying. Now it's a big error now because obviously Potter's here. Everyone believes in him, yeah, and we've got to back him now. Do you know what I mean? One thing I will say with Potter is he's not scared to use the youth. I think he uses the youth on Sunday in regards to Casey because I think we're in a situation we're going to have to, and that can only be a plus for the future. That really can. Do you know what I mean? So listen, the past is the past. We've gone through the past. We're at the present. It's all about the future, mate. Yeah,
and speaking of the future, our most immediate concern, apart from trying to get a bloody striker in before the window closes, is Aston Villa away. Maybe third time lucky this season. They beat us at our place beginning of the season, and obviously knocked us out the cup as well a couple of weeks back. So it's a tough game, obviously, going up there, but they do have European football, which can help us. Potentially some heavy legs there. But it's not getting any easier, is it, Luke, really, with the injuries? Good news on the Bowen front, he is back in training. But obviously, this Villa game seems to come too soon. I don't know. But it seems this Villa game will come too soon for Bowen. So it's still going to be a big ask to go up there and get something.
Yeah, I just hope we perform like we did in the cup, especially the first half. I don't expect us to because that would take an enormous ask of the players. You know, multi-millionaire, you know, top of the thing. Athletes can't do that every game. They should be able to, but you know, we know how football works. It's not that simple. I don't expect to win, but it would be very West Ham to go up there and get a result when you least expect them to. I don't think anyone expected us to go and perform like we did in the first half against Villa. But we had a new manager bounce. Everyone was feeling a bit better about it. You know, Scarves was in the team. Who, as a side note, I hope is playing tomorrow because I think Emerson's finished at West Ham. I think I'd like him to rekindle his form, but he just seems to be. I think he seems now like the player that we thought we were getting from Chelsea, and he's gone backwards a little bit for me. But I like the fact that Alford played a good chunk of the last game. I think people were slagging him off because he kept passing the ball backwards every time he got it, which is for me down to a lack of confidence. I think not wanting to make a mistake, which is that's the risk you take with being on a youth player, that they're not going to change the game, but they are going to not want to make a mistake. And then he's still got sort of.
He didn't hurt the cause. Let's put it that way.
No, he still got slagged off online, which is not very nice to see, especially from our own fans, including probably those that wanted to see youth play. So, I'm
a youngster. I mean, he'll grow into it. You know, he'll grow in confidence.
He needs. It's great. He had game time. I've not seen us really play with two youth players on the pitch for that long at the same time.
It was refreshing.
For a long while, in the Premier League game, not just like a knockoff, an FA Cup game that no one's really thinking about. But I'm just looking forward to. I'm interested in the team he puts out because I don't think he really put it against.
Oh, I was actually going to come on to that next. I'll come to you first, James. I think with this Villa game, I'd like to see Potter take a little bit more of a risk. I think in the Palace game, he did make an error. I think he focused a bit too much on trying to make sure we stop conceding 3, 4, and 5 goals, which I know is important. It's something that has to be done. But I think maybe he just tipped the balance too far in one direction and didn't leave enough on the pitch, really, that we could actually go and hurt off with. And I'd really like, even though I know it's an away game, I know Villa are better than Palace, but I'd still like to see him be a little bit more attack-minded in that game, and less kind of, shall we say, tentative. He was very tentative against Palace, I thought, which was a disappointment because I was quite upbeat after the Fulham game. I thought, that's pretty good. Okay, it wasn't an amazing performance, but given the injuries, I thought we did really well in that game. We just seemed to take a backward step in the Palace game. So I'd like to see him redress the balance against Villa. Maybe start Guilherme on the right and put the up top. So put an extra attacking player in there. Somerville potentially. I don't know what the latest is on Somerville. Hopefully he'll be at least in the squad. Did he say in his press conference anything about Somerville?
Nothing of any note, but I think Somerville's fit. He ain't going to say if he's fit or not because he ain't going to give nothing away, but I think he's fit. Yeah. I hear what you're saying. Listen, I hear what Lou was saying just a minute ago. I'm quite confident with West Ham this week. Full week of training. They played Tuesday night. They played a hard game against Monaco. Like, we're going to be sort of ready. If Jared Bowen's on the bench and Crescencio Somerville's on the pitch, then we've got half a chance. Definitely. And let's have it right. When we played them in the FA Cup, we got done by a corner that should never have been a corner. And then we fell apart. Listen, like, we was all right in that game. We done well in that game, especially with a makeshift side, and especially with the players going down around us in Krug and Somerville. So, listen, I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park for Villa. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I think we need to turn up there and be on our A game. I think the centre half position is key to the whole situation. For me, I'll chuck Casey in. I said it earlier on. Listen, when in times of need, sometimes you need to go and find someone from beneath you, and hopefully he can sort of inspire to victory. Now, Casey can do that job. I don't think putting Souček there or Alvarez there is gonna work. And listen, if it doesn't work, then we know. Do you know what I mean? But if it does work, then we might have found someone who we might not need to invest in the summer. Do you know what I mean? So, for me, listen, this season is like a season where we're going to have games like the Palace game. I think that's going to happen. I think he's learning on the job, Graham Potter, and these games obviously for points. Don't get me wrong, but he ain't got a pre-season. He's just got a season now to sort of learn. He's players.
I think he's almost got like a really long pre-season until the start of the next season, doesn't he?
I completely agree with you on that. And I think he's learning on the job and going from there, really. And I think results do matter, don't get me wrong, but I think this season everyone will agree that he wants to see integrate the youth. He wants to see how the team's shaping up. And also the key thing is to see who he wants to keep next year. Because there might be a lot of players in this side where he goes, no, can't have him in there. He doesn't fit my style of play. He's no good. You know what I mean? So, Casey's chances now. If he takes it like Scholes does, then I'm down for that. I really am.
Yeah.
There was a comment in. I think I saw a little while back said that he might put Wan-Bissaka a centre back, and I presume that means that Sufal will then play right back. I don't really want to see that because I've no doubt that. Wan-Bissaka is perfectly capable of playing anywhere across the back line. He's even played left back for us this season.
He's going to get caught upfield though, isn't he?
Sufal would worry me. I love Sufal. I've got all the respect in the world with him. But I just think that if you're relying on him for that right back spot,
would you play a 4 or a 3 in this game? Used to
depends what you're doing with the midfield.
Because if you play a 4, just say you play Casey and Gilman, you could sort of use Edson as that third centre half out of position.
Yeah,
and he slots in there, and then you make a 3-man defence to a point, and you could probably.
I actually think he's going to use Alvarez as a centre back. I think he's going to play him alongside Tillman.
It won't surprise me.
Rodriguez.
See. I mean, that's where, if I'm honest, if you're going to make shift midfielders into defenders for a game, that's where I play Souček because he's got the height. He wins headers. Clear out. He's not the worst tackler in the world, but obviously we've put in Souček.
Alvarez has played centre back. Actually, funnily enough, Alvarez and Rodriguez were teammates in Mexico, and Rodriguez was the defensive midfielder, and Alvarez was the centre back.
Fair enough. If it works, it works.
He's played in the back 3 for Mexico, I know.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's fine. I just don't really trust him in like.
No, do I.
It's not ideal.
I'm not against the bloke. I personally think he's lacked so much pace for a bloke in the Premier League. I like his passion, I like his intent, but I'll put it this way: if I'm putting a bet builder on West Ham games, Paqueta and him are the first 2 I'm getting to put a card to see a book.
Completely agree.
It's almost like guaranteed money. If you want to make money in this world, you just bang a tenner on Paqueta or Alvarez to get booked because one of them's going to do it for
Well, I mean, pace-wise, I agree, definitely, but I doubt very much we'll play a high line at Villa Park. We'll probably be on the edge of our own box when we're defending, so hopefully that will mitigate somewhat against his lack of pace. But I just think, a back 4 where you've got 2 very young and experienced players, particularly Casey at centre back. If you're going to play Scholes at left back, now Scholes I think can hold his own. Casey, I don't know. Again, I haven't seen enough of Casey. Like with any youngster like Casey, I'd rather see them kind of coming off the bench late in the game, getting their minutes, getting some experience, growing. It's a different story when you start them in a game. Now, if Potter is seeing him on the training ground, if he thinks he's ready and he's good enough, he'll start, and that's fine. But I just don't see it happening. I think he'd rather play a more experienced player like Alvarez at centre back.
Could he go to a 3 though with him though, Tommy?
You could, yeah. You could absolutely play Casey in a 3.
That's what I think he might do. If you want me to be honest, that's because I look at him and I think Alvarez and Gilman as a 2-man defence. That is static beyond static, isn't it? Especially against pace. So you might need another young pair of legs. Listen, I'm not saying Casey's like a whippet or nothing, but he can run. Do you know what I'm saying? He's younger.
Yeah, I think there's a very, very good case to be made for playing with wing backs at Villa.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Casey would be fine. If say you've got Kilman as the central centre back and Casey is the right-sided centre back, for example, in a 3, I think he'd be fine with 2 other experienced centre backs there. Who would you play just out of interest as the third centre back? Would you draft an Alvarez on that side, or would you?
I think that's probably just happened quite a lot throughout the season, even the start of the season. I think
Cresswell's done that a lot, that left side. He gets caught out from crosses at the far post.
No pace, though, is it? That's the only problem.
Quite short as well. When you're considering the ball goes in the box, he's trying to head it out.
I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you seen with Cresswell as the left side of centre back when a cross comes in from our opponent's left-hand side to the far post, and he just gets done at the far post by an inevitably bigger player who just rises up above him and scores. And so,
my attitude is with Casey is he can't be any worse than Mav. He just can't. Do you know what I mean? And I look at it like if you've got 3 defenders in there. Excuse me. Imagine if you just got Casey, Alvarez as your centre of the 3, and then Kilman. I think that ain't bad, mate. I don't think. And then obviously you got the wing backs in probably
Scarles and Wan-Bissaka.
It's either going to be Scarles or Wan-Bissaka, or it's going to be Emerson. I personally think it'd be Emerson because he's the more senior player, even though Scarles was dynamite when he came on and played against Villa. So
I actually think Scarles might be better than Emerson. I'm not even joking.
I said it to you last week. I think Emerson's gone in the summer. I think Scarles is the left back next year, and I think West Ham will be looking for someone like a Carl Walker-Peters to come in maybe and be that sort of either side. You know what I mean? I think Scarles. That's why I think they're upgrading Scarles very, very sharpish at the minute. Like it just because he's gone from being on the bench to being on the pitch to being playing, and now he's consistently on the pitch. You know what I mean? So
it's a mentality thing as well. The more you play them, the more confident they get. So it's like when Orford come on last week, I don't know why. I think it was like you could tell with him, like physically or mentally, that he was like deer in headlights a little bit when he got the ball. Like right, get rid of it, play the simple ball, and that's it. Whereas with Scarles, I think it was the last sort of 10 minutes of the game, last 5 minutes of the game, he was getting like in left wing back positions and trying to put crosses in and being there. So I think he's growing more confident for every game as well. It's just that you get the seniority complex, but then you do also get look, he's playing better than you, so in he goes. And
if the thing is, if you're playing with wing backs, who do you play as the 3 in midfield? Because obviously you're taking out the width of a natural winger, say Kudus on the right wing, Somerville on the left. So who would you play as your 3 midfielders then?
Souček and I'd go Souček and Soler, and then push Paqueta further forward with Somerville and Kudus, if I'm honest.
So have them come as inside 3 as inside forwards, kind of.
Yeah. I just don't think. I think Soler has to play. I don't understand. If Guido Rodriguez plays, do you really need a back 3, wing backs, Guido in there, Souček in there? I think you're asking for it. And now the front 3 has to be quick and dynamic to a point, and that's why Crescencio Somerville is so key, because if he does play on Sunday, we've got a counter-attacking option. Because listen, Mo gets a lot of criticism, but the other week he got man-marked out that game completely, like doubled up and trebled up, and as I said on E20, you can't do it on your own, mate. He can't do it on his own. Like he's one man. Do you know what I mean? And if you're looking,
sorry.
No, like I say, if you're looking around for pace, who's you got? Souček, Alvarez, and Guido. Got fucking no chance. Do you know what I mean? God, no.
No, this is. I don't know if it's the difference between Kudus, but it didn't matter if he used to get man marked that game. He just dribbled around him without. You could put 3 or 4 bugs on that guy, and he would still dribble around him. And I don't know what's happened to him, his confidence thing or whatever, but he just seems to be a bit of a different player where dribbling's concerned. He seems to be a little more, I'll pass it first rather than dribble, which is fine for a team game if you want to play that sort of game, but that's not really his game. I'm also, you mentioned Soler there. I don't know if you boys agree with me, but I don't know why Soler was dropped for the Palace game. I don't know what.
Apparently injured.
Apparently had a knock. Yeah.
Because Paqueta went off quite early, a lot more than I thought he would.
Thing is, Potter's got to look after some of these players because he can't afford to lose anyone else. That's another thing. Like obviously, well, with signings, we're very short at the minute, and we all know it. So Potter's trying to give these geezers minutes, but also not lose them in games. To a point. Like I feel sorry for Graham Potter. If I'm being truthfully honest, I do, because I feel like he's been told to come here. We all believe in him, but the man at the top don't. You know what I'm saying? He's like, you can wait till the summer.
I wasn't questioning him. I was just questioning him because that threw me off, because of the way that he's been for the way that he was for the Villa game, and then the way he was for the Fulham game, i.e. putting out a team that I couldn't work out at all, and then still played well and got the win. and then against Palace was almost like a complete opposite. The team was a bit like, if you said David Moyes and Lopetegui picked that team, you can understand it. With him, I was like, okay, this is strange, but I'll respect it and I'll faith it. And then it was a completely different game than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And it was almost one of them, like a back to reality crash, like a Potter's
reality check. Yeah.
He's not putting up the trees this game, and I wasn't slagging him up. I couldn't really work.
I think in that game, in the circumstances, his options for attacking players were non-existent. I mean, Somerville wasn't ready. He had Danny Ings, who obviously, he just doesn't want to start for obvious reasons. He's got no Bowen. He had Kudus. Probably he feels isn't ready yet. He's too raw. Didn't want to start the army for that reason. So he's looking. He's saying, attacking players wise, I've basically got Kudus left.
Yeah, but that was my point, because I was thinking you've done so well. It's gone so well with you picking scraps. Basically.
He was worried. He was worried about Palace's counter, mate. If you want me to be honest, when you look at their counter attack, Eze, Mateta, Sarr, I spoke to a Palace fan before the game, done a video with him, and basically he turned around and said they're going to set up the mid block and they're going to let West Ham come on to him, and then we're going to try and ease on the break. And that's what Potter sort of tried to counter. The issue is he didn't realise that Max Kilman can't defend one-on-ones. Do you know what I mean? Once the first goal goes in, then we're always up against it. That's the theme with West Ham this season. I don't know about you boys, but it feels like to me, when we go 1-0 up, we've got something to hold on to. We're all right. We've got the confidence levels. When we go 1-0 down, we are struggling to even come back and try and win a game. I don't think we've won a game all season from being 1-0 down.
No, but it's funny because when we went 2-0 up against Fulham, I don't remember the last time West Ham were 2-0 up at home against the team. Off top of my head,
it was almost like a shock, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was like, wow, we're 2-0 up. Where's this come from? It could have been 3 because I think we had a disallowed goal as well before, didn't we? I think Kilman's header or something like that. So yeah, it did shock me. And obviously we then got done anyway on 2 counter attacks. So we went against him. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, because I was going to get to that next. Actually, ask you both. Just to preempt you. I'll start with you, James. Actually, you're confident for tomorrow, then. So you think we'll get a result?
I think we can get a draw, mate. If you want me to be honest, I don't think we're good enough to win there. I don't think we've got the firepower, but that changes if Bowen and Somerville are there. If Bowen and Somerville are there, the fan base are up for it straight away. Yeah, because they've got 2 attackers there that know that they can sort of work with. That makes Mo better, that makes Paqueta better, and it makes us better. Yeah. If we haven't got them 2 fit and we're going with a similar-ish lineup to last week, then brace yourself because it could be a nightmare at Villa Park. And you know what I mean. And the thing is, these games now, it's just you've just got to lick your wounds and take it. I think and whatever happens. But we need Bowen back. We need Somerville back. And I believe we can get a draw there. I don't think in that FA Cup game we played that bad. I thought we played really well in the first half. I think we get done by a corner that was never a corner. And I think that rocked us, that goal. And then that's why we conceded the second one. And in the end, knocked us out of the FA Cup. So if we turn up like that and play like that, and West Ham have had a full week, Villa have been to Monaco and back, I think West Ham can get something there. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for having some optimism on that one. Like I said, Villa played a tough game on Tuesday night. The thing is, it's hard for me to be either optimistic or pessimistic.
It's West Ham, isn't it?
No, I just mean in the circumstances.
Yeah.
I just mean I'm not entirely sure what kind of team we're going to see. I don't know if Somerville is going to start. So Solar, I'm not sure. Is he ready to go again? He's not cleared up? So, if you were to tell me right now, if I knew that we're going to have Solar, Paqueta, Bowen, or not Bowen, Somerville produced on the pitch, I'd be like, yeah, all right. Yeah, I'm up for this now. We've got a chance to get something here. But if Somerville isn't quite ready to go, if Solar isn't quite ready to go, again, you're looking at, where are the goals coming from? Where are we going to create opportunities to score goals? So I just don't know what to expect whatsoever, if I'm completely honest. I'd be taking a kind of a shot in the dark at just throwing out a scoreline because I've got no clue what we're going to look like. Are we going to switch to a back three? Are we going to be a fat back four? I've got no idea what to expect when that team lineup comes out tomorrow. With everyone fit, we'd know by now what way Potter is going to set up and what players we're likely to see. But in the circumstances, I mean, we've virtually got nothing to go on, Luke, do we?
Would you say though, just for Luke adds on, would you say that he's going to go with the same sort of lineup as the FA Cup game? Because as I say, the FA Cup game wasn't that bad. And what was that? Was that a three at the back? I can't remember what that was, if I'm being honest. Yeah. No, it wasn't a three at the back. It was actually a 4-3-3 he went, because obviously Somerville, Kudus and Falkirk were all playing. So could he change it around?
Wasn't it that Somerville was playing a makeshift right wing back?
Yeah, it was similar to that. And I'll never forget, if Damien's in the chat, Damien will convert to this. He was saying he's doing a lot of work on that right, just up and down, like good. And that's the reason why he got injured to a point.
Yeah, well, there was just that tackle. I don't know if anyone saw a tackle. I think he done, I can't remember who the player was, but he made a tackle and he was at an awkward angle. And you could see when the camera panned to him, he done really well to make the tackle. And then you could see he was like, oh, that's I've done something there. That's you can see the way he was looking, he was like, that's done me. But you also had that game, you also had Paqueta and Kudus in the 10. And it was quite nice to see. Obviously, Falkirk in front of them. So I think Potter's been known to play quite a few formations, not just in general games, but also throughout games as well. But Tommy, that could be the best thing. That could be the best mentality that we could have tomorrow. It's not pessimistic, not optimistic. Just what will be will be. Sometimes it's quite nice to go into those sort of things because you're not too pissed off if we lose or play well. You didn't know what to expect anyway, and then you've got your bonus of feeling really good if we get a result. We'll play well. So
yeah, as James said, I mean, it's a very difficult situation for Graham Potter. I mean, he's coming in mid-season. He's already had injuries to some key players, and then more of them start dropping as soon as he plays them. So he's working with a threadbare squad that he's trying to get trained up into his way of playing, and half of them aren't available. So it's tough. He's having to just kind of do his best as he goes until he gets some of these injuries cleared up, and he's probably really hoping that Sullivan will pull his finger out of his arse and get him a fucking striker that he can use between now and the end of the season, even if it's just a good striker on loan, something he can work with. So it's a very difficult spot, and I think for that reason, I think West Ham fans will be very patient with him. I think we've basically decided, look, we're not going to judge him on the rest of this season. It'll come down to next season for Potter. He'll have his few more. He'll have been here for long enough. Hopefully, fresh start next season. He'll get some players in the summer. Hopefully, everyone will be available to him. And then we can judge him on how we're playing next season. So I think it's a good thing and a bad thing for him, I guess. There's an upside and a downside to it for Potter. He won't be judged for this season, but it will be a difficult kind of remaining few games for him, I think.
What's your predictions, lads?
I'm going to be positive because I do think Paqueta, Soler, Somerville, and Kudus will all be available, I think. And I think they'll play. Villa are a very good side, but they're not as at it this season as they were last season. They're not flying it like they were, and I think they can be got at. I think we can go up there. I think we can go up there and get a point. I think most people think Villa are just going to turn it over because of all the issues I've just alluded to, but I think we'll actually play quite well tomorrow, and I think we'll get something up there. I'm going to go for a 1-1.
What are you saying, Lou?
I think if we score the first goal, we get a draw.
I agree on that.
If we concede, it might be, I don't want to say, but 3 or 4 or something like that. Because when they're on it, and they're at home as well. I think away from home, they're a little bit dodgy. They're a bit just at the school, but they should have lost 2-0 at least against Monaco. I watched the first half, and there was a moment before half time where a Monaco player was put through 1-on-1. And he skied it over the bar. It was the worst control shot I've ever seen. And they were there for the taking. I think they tried to get back into it, and they put on Duran, both up front. And but there was definitely, although they were good, you could see where they were susceptible. And if West Ham could, concentrate on that and not just go, because it feels almost like it's a little bit with Potter. You feel like there's a bit of hope, like there's a bit of a we'll defend here, but we'll also attack here. Whereas a lot of times under maybe Lopetegui or Moyes, you go right, we'll just defend and just try and concede as less goals as you can. Hopefully we don't go in with that mentality. And I can't call these lineups. A bit like Lopetegui, I can't call these lineups, and I think I've just got to have faith that whoever he picks just turns up.
Yeah.
I want to see Casey because Casey's a youth player, and the more youth players, the better. I don't expect Dorford to start tomorrow because obviously we've got this at the back. We've got the worry and forward the worries. But yeah, 2-2. I think I'm going to say my scoreline's 2-2 if we score the first goal.
Yeah, but Desmond. Yeah. Plus, remember, it's a major blow to Villa. That Mavropanos is suspended tomorrow.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah. Poor old man.
He'd be worth at least one goal to them.
Yeah,
and the rest. What did you think of his red card the other week? I know we've discussed the sort of game, but
from where I sit, I thought it was Alvarez. Because I sit up in the goals, and where he got the second yellow was the furthest away from me, the furthest point almost on that side. And when I thought, it's Alvarez again. I can't really see what the players look like very, very. That's how big the bloody stadium is. That's how poor your eyesight is sometimes up there.
Yeah.
I think there was a level of frustration. He has got many brain parts in him. It's like I think I sit next to him like the old man and all that, and I think there was various points where he puts a good ball over, and then we like as much as I slag him off and I say that he has got a brain fart and he's terrible, he has got a fucking good pass on him. And there was a few times I think from the first half or just the earlier second half, he was pinging a few good balls over. We just never really took advantage of it. We've done even with it. But unfortunately, he does one good thing and then one bad thing, and maybe we need a Mavro free game. Maybe that's what we need. We need Kilman needs someone different next to him because maybe that'll make Kilman look a bit better as well. Because I said before, I feel a bit sorry for Kilman not having a stable partner, and the partner that he has got that has been stable has been Mavro. So I thought
it was an unnecessary challenge in the circumstances. Immediate danger to our goal. It was out near the sideline. A little bit silly. I don't think it was terribly egregious. I feel a little bit bad for him. I don't think it was as bad as Alvarez sending off against Liverpool, where he's on a yellow and he just went right.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, that was just you see that and you pull your fucking hair out. You're like, what? That's complete fucking stupidity. That is. I didn't think Mavropanos' challenge was on that level. I think he was trying to get at the ball. He unfortunately clipped. The Palace player, I can't remember who it was. Was it Mateta or who was it?
Yeah, I think it was Mateta,
yeah.
I thought, a little bit of a silly challenge, maybe a little bit unnecessary, but I didn't think it was too egregious. Just one of those really that happens sometimes in the game, I think. But I think the fact that he was on a yellow, he should have used his head a little bit more and just
completely agree.
Not put the foot in here. I thought just a silly challenge more than anything, really.
I completely agree. Like, listen, I'm not worried about the challenge. It's just that he's on a yellow. He knows he's going in for that. He's got to get it, and if he don't get it, he's going to get sent off. And he's just with Mav. I've always said this. He's like a third choice or fourth choice defender at your club. Like, you have him now for an emergency. I know, like, he's currently our first choice because the other one is out in France getting treatment. So it'd be nice to see Casey tomorrow, on Sunday. Sorry, it'd be nice to see him on Sunday, Casey, because I think you might learn more from him than you would do anyone else in the side. But
I think Potter knows probably all he needs to know about Mavropanos at this point. So, like you say, it would do no harm whatsoever to get a proper look at Casey and see how he looks. So. But fingers crossed, that we can get a positive result. I think there is an opportunity there, particularly if we've got some players back like Somerville, Soler, Paqueta, Caboose can all start. That will certainly be a boost, give us better attacking options. But I'm going to leave it there, gentlemen. Really appreciate you coming on as always. Hopefully we'll get you both on next week. because we'll have another week, obviously, the transfer window, and hopefully we'll have some positive news. Maybe we'll be playing Mr. Brobbey up front. So we'll see how that goes. But really appreciate you guys jumping on.
Quick prediction. Do we sign anyone from now till next Friday?
I think yes.
I think Benzudo.
I think yes. Possibly a loan, which I don't mind. You know, if we go get our striker in the summer, so be it. If we can't get the striker we really want now, just get as good a loan as you can possibly find, just to see us through. So we have someone we can play up there. So I'm not too worried about the striker situation. Once we just get somebody in that will be good enough to tide us over to the end of the season. But I don't know anything about Brobbey. And if he's the guy, if Potter said, "Look, I want Brobbey," then if we can go get him, fantastic.
I know. I've never really watched him properly, but I know that I think since we got Alvarez and Kudus, but I watch it. Not that I watch European football a lot. I used to watch it a lot. I don't watch it like half as much as I used to now. But what I do is quite a little bit geeky of me. But when all the games are finished on a weekend or something, I will scroll through all the scores of what's gone on in England and Spain and France and stuff like that, just to keep up with what's going on. And I think for a while for Ajax, he was scoring a lot of goals like quite consistently. And I'm not too sure if it was when they lost one of their main players and he took over. But he's young. He's. I think there is a thing about his injury record which I don't know much about, so I can't comment on that. It's good on my YouTube, innit? The amount of information I haven't got. But he's not. I don't think he's the worst. I think we'd need to maybe give him time to thingy. But he scored a fair few goals for Ajax. So I used to see him. But when Bowen was at Hull, I used to see Hull, Bowen pop up, his name pop up for Hull constantly. I was like, I like him. I think West Ham should go get him.
Sometimes players need a club that benefits them.
Yeah,
I think he might be the guy. I'm like you, Lou. I hope he comes good. Do I think he should be the first choice at West Ham for the next 5 years? I don't know about that one, but it's a start, isn't it? Let's be honest. We need a striker. We can't you know what I mean? When you're
I think James, to be honest, like for the price that we're seeing for Brobbey, I think it's a reasonable price. We're not
fair, isn't it? Yeah.
And even if he turned out to be a really good backup striker, I think he'd still be worth that money, you know.
Oh, 100% agree, mate. 100% agree. And as I say, it's a start, isn't it? Let's be honest, lads. It'd be nice to have someone who we can actually call a centre forward who represents our club, because everyone else seems to be aging at the minute. And at this rate, we'll be pushing them around in the wheelchair. So it's just it's just not on.
Well, we'll see how it goes. We'll talk about it next week, and fingers crossed we'll have some good news. But listen, really appreciate you being on with us, guys, and to everyone in the live chat as always.